Hello world, Slava Ukraini. If you're new to Voices of Ukraine, this is an Instagram project which helps Ukraine to get support of the West to end this barbaric Russian invasion. I'm Julia, the creator of Voices of Ukraine, and today I have an honor to speak to Joris van Dorp. Joris is an energy and sustainability installation specialist. He is one of the advisors to RePlanet Netherlands and one of co-authors of the study Switch Off Putin, a roadmap on how countries of Europe can immediately stop buying Russian energy and still survive. Thank you for being here, Joris.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I would like to ask you a few questions on behalf of myself and many people. Could you kindly first introduce yourself and let us know why did you become one of the co-authors of Switch Off Putin?
Okay, I'll try. Yeah. Well, I'm an engineer. I work in engineering in the building sector for installations, for heating and cooling, and for energy provision. So that is my background. I'm a technician, technical guy, and I developed an interest in energy because energy supply and energy provision and energy use, those are very important parts of the economy. And from that, I've been triggered, along with some friends of mine, to respond to this terrible nightmare in Ukraine, because Putin is attacking there because he thinks that Europe will not respond too much to him because Europe is dependent on the fossil fuels coming out of Russia. So this is the problem that we face now, and we felt we had to write a report to explain how we think we can break that unfortunate bond that is keeping us from acting. In a nutshell, if that makes any sense.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. That's why I was so grateful to learn about your roadmap with some specific suggestions, because I have a feeling people are either blindly pro or against the embargo. But could you kindly clarify what would it exactly mean? For example, during my research, I found a couple of Twitter quotes of German politicians, which can be from like the most ignorant ones, like from Florian Post from SPD. I found a couple of "will we freeze" until more like relevant ones, like from Christian Lindner. Are we weakening ourselves with embargo? Or from Gerrit High, would it increase unemployment?
Yes, I also saw those kind of responses, and I should start by saying that I think the concern is right. You have to be concerned because it is true. Europe, and especially certain member states, including Germany, we are quite dependent on importing fossil fuels from Russia. So if you stop doing that, then you run into the possibility of the shortage of fuel. So that is a serious issue. So you have to think very carefully about that. So there are a number of organizations, knowledge institutes that have analyzed what would happen if you stop doing that fuel import from Russia. And the conclusion is that the shortages would be serious, but you can deal with that by rationing, so you have to be smart in what you use those fuels for. So if we reduce our fuel use for non-essential services and ration the fuels that we have to use anyway, ration it so that you can control price increases, then you can minimize the burden. So the result would be yes, the economy would be affected. A few percentage points of national product would be affected by such a move in a country like Germany. But if you have solidarity and good organization, you can spread that around the cost, so that the cost for each individual is manageable. So that is why we believe it is possible to stop these imports from Russia. But I will say right away, there's a lot of discussion still going on how to do this optimally, and there are various different options that we can approach. So our report is very simplistic in the sense that we are just saying cut off all the fuel, but there are other variants. There are other ways of achieving the same result. So we might discuss that if you want. I'll leave that to you.
Okay, well, I would love to dig a little bit deeper into the study you have created. So maybe you could share with us in a nutshell, what are the main suggestions of your plan, and also what are the biggest challenges of it?
Yeah, well, the suggestion is quite simple. Our main suggestion is that we have to reduce our fuel use. So we have to turn down the thermostats in buildings, which is a big consumer of natural gas. So instead of the usual 20 to 22 degrees Celsius, we should go to 18 or maybe even 16 degrees Celsius. That would reduce quite a lot of gas use. But that's not enough. You also have to do other things. So you also have to, we think you also have to choose to reduce the output of certain factories of non-essential production. We believe that you have to switch fuels. So you have to reopen nuclear power plants that can still be reopened, and you have to maximize the use of the nuclear power plants that you already have. We also believe that you should try to increase the wind and solar expansion of wind and solar energy supply, because it's possible to expand those fairly quickly in time for the next winter, which will be a critical time, of course, if you have to have natural gas. And finally, yeah, we believe we believe that you have to have new gas supplies from somewhere. So you probably have to import gas from other places. But this last point, that is the point that worries me and also my friends a lot, because what we have to avoid is price increases. We have to try to avoid the increase of fossil fuel prices, because this is what harms people the most, and not just in Europe but also internationally. So this is the real challenge.
Yes, this is, if I may just intervene you for a second here, the most heartbreaking thing, that due to the current situation, Russia is earning much more on the prices for gas and oil during this genocide in Ukraine than ever before. I do not have exact numbers right now, I'll look them up, but this is exactly horrendous that they earn more and we are co-financing this war.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing, and it could have been avoided, but we chose to. In the past, European politicians, many European politicians believed that that we could cooperate with Russia in a beneficial manner, and in a sense that is of course a noble pursuit. But now it turns out that we have become too dependent on that supply from Russia. And the result is, we see it now, it's very difficult to extract ourselves from that relationship at the moment when we need to. That's a problem.
Yeah, I have a feeling political will is one of the most crucial elements here. The COVID showed us that you can put the whole world on stop if there is political will behind it. So this, on one side, gives me hope that if that was already possible one time, and then if you say that the impact of embargo would be just a decrease in certain percentage points and not the full collapse of economies, then this is the way. And at the same time, we know that changing people's minds and narratives is maybe one of the hardest things to do. So that's why, yeah, my actually next question would be, yes, you have created this roadmap, but main thing next is to make sure that politicians who are in power to decide, they will listen to it or at least consider it. So where are you in this process right now?
Well, we are showing our plan to everybody who wants to see it, and we are also contacting all relevant politicians individually. And we have already noticed the past couple of weeks that the discussion around this option of doing an embargo is being discussed actively. And so we think it's possible to do this embargo if every politician, every relevant politician in Europe believes that there will be the required solidarity and cooperation among European member states. Because this is the main problem, as I see it, the main problem is that if we do this embargo, we have to ensure that the damage that does to the European economy is spread equally and fairly, and that the people who are most dependent on cheap energy are not the ones who are bearing all of the burden. And that is, I think, what is worrying some politicians. because politicians don't want to make decisions which afterwards turn out to make a lot of people angry. And people get angry when they think that they're being unfairly treated. And there's a big risk, if we do this embargo, there's a big risk that certain people will bear more of the burden than other people. And this is a recipe for social unrest. And that is what politicians are worried about, I think. So my message to the politicians is, please cooperate, work together, explain to each other that we have to cooperate, that we have to be have a lot of solidarity in between member states and in between parts of society. But if we do that, then we could do this embargo, and we could, in this way, make it much more difficult for Putin to pursue his war.
Yes, thank you for this, because I'm living in Germany, in a country which is right now the biggest importer of Russian gas. And also from your report, I learned that, for example, France and Poland are the biggest importers of Russian oil. So that's why if you could give specific recommendation to Robert Habeck and his respective counterparts, Barbara Pompili and Christoph Trojewski, what would be your advice to them?
My advice to them, well, I would tell them that they are in a very difficult situation that they partly self-created by being anti-nuclear, by being opposed to nuclear energy. That is the reason Germany is now so dependent on fossil fuels. So I would say you have to stop that policy right away. And the second thing I would say, please try to find the trust in the rest of Europe to support you in this difficult time. Because Germany is right to be worried about the consequences of shutting itself off from Russian fuels. That is a risk to the German economy. So Germany has to try to explain this to the rest of Europe, that if we want to stop this Russian fuels, then Germany has to get support in different ways from the rest of Europe. So from France, from the Netherlands and the other countries, to get through at least the next winter without the problem of people freezing, because it's possible, if you don't do this right, it's possible that some people will not be able to pay for the fuels, and they will have their homes, the risk of their homes freezing is a true risk, if that makes sense, if that's clear to you.
Yes. So yes, that makes me make a little message to our people who are watching this video. So please, if you are in Germany, hit the link in our bio. You can find the way how you can contact Robert Habeck and just email him today. Robert, we can do it together as Europe. Please ask other ministers for help to give you some gas and other resources. And if you are listening to it outside of Germany, please do the same, hit the button, write to your Minister of Energy and say, write to Robert Habeck, I will help you to do this, because only together in solidarity, this would be possible, and cutting dependency on Russian oil and gas, immediate embargo is the only thing that can help to stop Putin now, beyond the weapons, but this is outside of the scope of today's discussion. So please do it today. Don't wait. Every day of war means that we are paying not with dollars, we are paying with human lives. And yeah, so my last question, because you were saying that the mistake was in shutting down the nuclear. And I can imagine there had been decades of work here to make people believe nuclear as a pure evil and this is the right way. So to make sure people who are listening to us can a little bit understand the background of your recommendation, can you maybe say why nuclear would be the way and why they are not so evil, so that they can stay in the picture a bit longer?
Yeah, nuclear is a much misunderstood subject. Nuclear power is feared for reasons that are ultimately they're mostly emotional and ideological, not scientific, not factual. So it would take too long, I think, to explain all the details. But if people want to understand why nuclear energy is sustainable, they should read a report prepared by the Joint Research Center, the JRC, that's a European research community. They made a report on nuclear energy, on the harm done by nuclear energy. And their conclusion was that nuclear energy does not do more harm to people or to the environment than wind or solar power. So nuclear energy is a sustainable energy source, even though that might be very hard to understand because of all the misinformation. But it is sustainable and we should use it.
Yeah, thank you very much. We will share with you the link to this study, and also in our link in bio, you can find the direct link to the study Joris has co-authored, Switch Off Putin Now. It is available in English, German, and French, so that you can really read the details and make up your own mind. And I wanted to say, I'm from Ukraine, and probably the events of Chernobyl explosion are one of those which has contributed the most into this decision of the world. We need to prevent anything from this to happen ever again. So I have 2 points on that. So first is that the Chernobyl reactor is a technology which is not being used in any of the modern reactors. So that's why chances that second Chernobyl will happen just like that is almost zero. If you have watched the TV series, which was broadcasted 2 years ago, you have seen how many human errors and combinations combined together led to that explosion. So this is not the reason to be afraid that it is something to happen in the future. But right now, Russian army is controlling Zaporizhia nuclear station, the biggest in Europe. It has 5 reactors or 15, similar to Chernobyl. And we might not need even Putin pushing a red button. It can be some soldier who will accidentally shoot from some low precise weapon and create new Chernobyl times 10 for all of us. So that is why we are already living under this threat of nuclear attack. And unfortunately, it will not be just Ukraine. It will be all of us affected. So please remember this while considering your opinion, what to do and what to tell and demand from your politicians, if you are happy or not. So that were my 2 cents regarding the nuclear. And now I want just to wrap up our conversation with last question. Last but not least, Joris, please tell me, what would be your personal message, like human, to people of Ukraine and to people of the world in regard to the current situation?
Yeah, the situation is terrible, of course. It's terrible, but we will get through this, and we have to remain optimistic about the future, because the future has a lot of promise. I mean, if you look at the longer time scale, humanity is on a long-term progress to solving all the problems that we face. This will continue. So freedom and prosperity, those and democracy, they will keep improving. But we have to keep working at it. You know, it's a matter of working at it and sacrifice and goodwill and trusting other people, even if you don't know them. But this will continue. This process will continue, despite the terrible tragedy that is happening now in Ukraine. And we will get through this. So just hang on, be optimistic, and continue your work.
Thank you for this. Thank you for all your work, for standing with Ukraine. And I hope that, yes, the global community, European community, will take this situation as a chance to get rid of their dependency on Russian gas and their blackmail, and that very, very soon we will again celebrate peace and stability in Europe. So thank you for taking time for this conversation. Thank you all for listening. Please stay with us. Keep doing all you can to stand with Ukraine, and with your help, we will withstand for the peace and freedom of all of us. Slava Ukraini!
Goodbye.